Alright, so for the next installation of my MiniTruck, I'm going to install my AOV radio. The AV252B, and I'm just noticing this image right here does not show the microphone. So right next to the aux on here, there's a little microphone that's on the actual radio. It does not appear on the one that's here. Anyways, I got this from Walmart. It was like 34 bucks shipped. I've seen these as low as like $22 on Amazon shipped. So, I mean, you can get them cheaper in different places. I chose to use Walmart because I've always had really good luck with them getting things shipped to me, and they actually seem to arrive and they get tracked, which is kind of an important thing if you've ever watched any of my videos with me dealing with the post office. But yeah, this is a super small form factor radio. The Bluetooth is the main thing that I needed because in my MiniTruck, I wanted to have, well, I don't have speakers in there for starts, so I want to have some speakers in there, and I wanted to have a radio. I wasn't super worried about quality of the radio itself because I don't even have an antenna on the truck. But it's a little side Benny. It'll take USB and micro SD cards in the side. Plays MP3s, will also play MP3s off your phone. So most of the time I've got my phone with me, which is why I needed this anyways, so I could use this to make phone calls because you have to be hands-free in my state or they'll arrest you. This is going to keep me out of jail. All right, when I first got the little booklet out, I got to admit that was starting to terrify me that I was going to have to try and figure things out. I mean, I knew I could figure it out, but super happy when I turned to the English version of the page. So have no fear, everything is written here. Gives you all the instructions. Everything is very clear. Basic instructions are well written. Even the simple stuff that you should already know, that's all really well done. Real basic instructions on your wiring, that's all you need when you're doing a radio like this. I mean, it's not that tough, but I've seen manufacturers make it a lot tougher. And then technical specs and things like that, which nobody really cares about. It also came with the release tools so that you can pop those in on the side and pull it back out in case you got to pull the radio out. So that's it. All right, so I've connected that the black with the white stripe, getting 0, and now I'll turn my ignition. So I get my ignition line on, and then I get my 12 volts. So the black with the white stripe is hot when on key. It's a keyed ignition hot. The white with nothing on it is always hot, and the red, which is pretty much internationally known for being hot, is actually the ground. Anybody ever seen that before? That's bizarre. Okay, so for the radio unit, we've got black, which has to go to battery. So I got black going directly to red. That's absolutely insane. All right, so the next one we've got is fuse to battery plus. So that means the yellow one is going to go to a live battery source. All right, so we've got our yellow hooked right up to our white with no line on it, and that's the live source. And then the last wire we have to hook up here is the red to the ignition switch. So this last one here with the stripe on it is the one that's my ignition switch one. I was filibustering, I was trying to get my wire. So I'm just verifying one last time. Clipping that out of there. I get nothing. I go up, turn my ignition on, and I have my voltage. Alright, back off again, and now I'll put these guys together. I'm going to cut my piece of heat shrink tube in half because these full-length heat shrink tubes are just too far to bridge the gap. Alright, that looks pretty good, and I got my heat shrink tube, which will slide up here as soon as these are 100% cooled down. Alright, nothing so far, so let me turn my ignition on. Nice. So now it's just kind of hanging out in mute mode. And then I'm going to turn my ignition back off. And that's it. Good to go. Now all I got to do is, well, heat shrink these wires and then shove it back in. Oops. Well, that's not going to work very well. Yeah, that's better. I can reach it at least. Done better had I not been trying to film this and shoot upside down. Alright, that is that. Sorry I bounced you around so much. I know that's going to be terrible. Alright, one of the things I did not mention was the blue wire, which is for a power antenna. And I don't really like the idea of a bare lead floating around out there that could potentially have 12 volts on it. So I'm going to snip this and then put a piece of tape on the end of it before I shove that in the dash. Alright, so I snipped and then I doubled it over just because, well, you know, safety first. And making sure that I'm right side up, I'm going to carefully, I'm going to use both hands to stuff this radio back in here, I think. Yeah, I need to. Also, these are in case you have an amplifier and you want to have something a little more powerful than these two built-in speakers here. You've got some power beyond, so if you want to hook up a massive sub and really surprise the crap out of people when they see these chiclet speakers, yeah, go for it. You'll also notice that I did not hook up an antenna. That's because at the moment, I don't have one. There we go, that's pretty nice. I'm going to turn my ignition on. Alright, so I can't really demo it because the only Bluetooth thing I'd be demoing it with would be the phone that I've got right now, but you could hook all sorts of wonderful things in here. There's a little SD card, the micro SD card slot, so you can put some MP3s on there and throw that in there. It'll play MP3s off an SD card. It does Bluetooth through the phone, obviously. The main reason why I got this was because of the hands-free, because I was really getting sick of trying to balance my phone up here or throwing it in here because my wife likes to carry water with us when we're going somewhere sometimes. And it's nice to have something that you can just use for hands-free phone, if nothing else. So the fact that I'll be able to play some music through there is even better, theoretically. I haven't tried the radio. Like I said, I got to put an antenna on the truck first in order to try that. But first things first, I've already tried it with the Bluetooth, playing music through the phone. That works fine there. It's audible, and it works as a phone, and that's all I really bought this for. This was $39, and I think that was money well worth spent, as far as I'm concerned, because it's a pretty easy installation. You don't get much better than that. It comes with a set of forks that you can stick in either side to pull the radio back out in case you got to do something else. Like in this case, I'm going to have to, well, put the antenna on. And that is that. Oh yeah, and while I'm still out here, I did end up going with a side-fired exhaust. There were some guys who did the job for me in town. Nice muffler in there. Got it all connected up front. Well, you can't really see too much underneath there, but anyways, this sounds 100% better than a muffler that's completely blown out from this point backwards. So that makes the well, that makes it a lot more inspectable than it was the day before, that's for sure.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Alright, well, it's a good thing that I kept these little fellas, because something I discovered this morning is that that red line is, in fact, not actually a ground. So even though it ring tests out as a ground, it's not. And I discovered that this morning when I turned the headlights on and the radio cut off. So that is actually some kind of a dash light. Even though there's no dash lights in this thing over here, and there weren't any provisions for any, apparently there were provisions for some in future models. Kind of like the vent that's over there that doesn't exist. Digging down deeper, and I find this ground here, which goes, well, directly to the chassis. So I'm gonna see if this works. I don't particularly like the way that this looks. I'm going to get some heat shrink around this, and I'm obviously going to solder that and heat shrink that in too. Well, we'll start by sliding this one up, and then I'll put the smaller piece in on the back side of it. All right, so I got these two guys together now, and time for the heat gun. All right, that looks better. Okay, so I've got my ground ready. Got it all heat shrinked up. Throw that down in the hole. Heat shrinked a piece of tubing over that red wire, which turned out to be a headlamp thing. So basically, anytime the headlights are on, this will control a dash light that this truck doesn't have. So yeah, not gonna worry about that. All right, so the ground is connected up. I'll send these wires back up in here and tighten them up a little bit. And then our work is done here. It is officially in, completely mounted. The ground down there is working. Oh, yikes, I am sticking to these seats like you wouldn't believe. It is 98 degrees here, which is something that we don't see that often out here. So that's sort of a surprise. I'd say goodnight, MiniTruck, but that would be stealing too much from Motor Cheese.